Hello everyone, I'm Pallavi Singh, a research fellow at Emmanuel College, Cambridge. Today I will be talking about my research initiatives. I'm particularly interested in global food security and my research revolves around this important issue. My research is focused on improving photosynthesis. So before I go into the details of my research undertakings, let's remind ourselves what photosynthesis is and why it is so important to improve photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is one of the most important biological processes on Earth. It fuels life on this planet. It is the process by which plants utilize sunlight and atmospheric carbon dioxide to produce organic carbon in the form of carbohydrates and sugar. Rubisco is the enzyme that facilitates photosynthesis. So Rubisco catalyzes the first step of fixing atmospheric carbon dioxide by carboxylation reaction. So on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see the set of reactions that are actually important for fueling life on this planet. But that's not the end of the story. Oxygen can competitively bind with Rubisco, performing an oxygenation reaction, and it leads to a formation of a toxic byproduct. Then plants have to invest in a lot of energy demanding steps to get rid of this toxic product. So the oxygenation reaction is particularly deleterious for the plant. Over the course of evolution, many plant lineages have come up with strategies to circumvent this oxygenation reaction, and one such strategy is C4 photosynthesis. So C4 photosynthesis is associated with compartmentation of photosynthesis between two different cell types, the mesophyll and the bundle sheath cell. So if we take a closer look at the microscopic view of a C4 leaf, there are these cells or the inner cells which are called the bundle sheath cells that arrange themselves in a wreath-like pattern. And these cells have rubisco sequestered in them. These bundle sheath cells are surrounded by an outer layer of mesophyll cells. So carbon dioxide is shuttled from the outer mesophyll cells into the inner bundle sheath cells. So there is higher concentration of carbon dioxide in the vicinity of rubisco, which facilitates the carboxylation reaction of rubisco. So if we compare C3 plants and C4 plants, C4 plants have 50% more nitrogen and water use efficiency, and they are also efficient at fixing carbon dioxide and have better yields. So C4 plants actually make up the most productive plants on this planet. So I would like to relay this point by showing you an image of a field in the International Rice Research Institute in the Philippines. And here you can see that on the front of your screen are the rice plants. Next to it is 𝘰𝘰𝘯𝘯𝘦𝘤𝘵. This is a C4 weed that infestates rice fields. And on the rear end are maize plants, which also again perform C4 photosynthesis. So both maize and 𝘰𝘰𝘯𝘯𝘦, which perform C4 photosynthesis, have higher biomass accumulation as opposed to rice. So now if we look at the list of some of the economically important plants that perform C4 photosynthesis, we'll be able to appreciate the importance of C4 photosynthesis. So maize, sugarcane, some of the millets, and sorghum perform C4 photosynthesis, and they are very productive plants. But as is obvious from the list, most of our global food staples like rice, wheat, oats, barley, even potatoes and tomatoes do not fall under the list of C4 photosynthetic plants. So they perform an inefficient version of photosynthesis. So the bigger objective of my research is that if these global food staples are able to perform efficient version of photosynthesis, we would be able to solve the world hunger crisis and move a step towards global food security. So the bigger objective of my research is turbocharging rice. So if we are able to understand this compartmentation and how specific enzymes are expressed in different cell types, we would probably be able to translate this machinery into the global food staples. And if rice was to perform C4 photosynthesis, it would have higher yields and would also have improved water and nitrogen use efficiency. So next, I would like you to look at some of the recent work that I'm doing on understanding C4 photosynthesis and its regulation. I'm particularly interested in understanding the regulation of C4 photosynthesis. And for that, I'm using a very initial stage of initiation of photosynthesis. So as you can see on your slide, these are tiny 3-day-old seedling, and they are grown in dark, and they are transferred to light over the course of 24 hours. So you can see that there is particular greening of the seedlings, and there is establishment of photosynthesis. So I'm trying to understand that what are the genes, what are the DNA elements that are required for the initiation of photosynthesis and for the plant to attain its full photosynthetic capacity. So here you can see images of chloroplast. So chloroplast are the entities or the small units that perform photosynthesis inside the cell. And over the course of dark to 24-hour light, you can see that all the membranes open up and they become fully functional to perform photosynthesis. Next, I'm also focusing on understanding the different genes and the DNA sequences that are induced in the presence of light. So the idea is that if I'm able to understand the regulation of photosynthesis, this could then be translated into global staples and help in increasing yield of all the global staples. So thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the comment sections below. And I would be happy to answer those questions. Thank you.